Hello. Hey, what's going on?
Hello.
Okay, if you're gonna
Will
do
you
that,
stop?
and if you don't pull those damn thumbs in, I'm gonna snap them off.
I'm not. No, this is my own thing.
It's this. It's not what is this?
This is Mahalo.
What did he do?
No, that's I love you. This is Mahalo.
Oh,
Get some.
I'm gonna get you.
No
Anyway,
If you're gonna go metal, I'm gonna snap them thumbs off.
Am I going to have to separate you two?
Yes.
Ed, here.
Well, welcome back to the Three Stooges.
Boink.
As a matter of fact, we were just talking about bands, and that's not the subject, but we were talking about bands that should hang it up, and we were talking about like Motley Crue and.
Yeah.
Did you see the one thing where they put like the Bumble from Rudolph Red-Nosed Reindeer, had it next to him?
Oh my!
Because he's up like this. He's got this big belly and stuff. He's got that white hair. And somebody put the Bumble next to him.
Oh boy!
To have Hermie take his teeth out,
Exactly.
so he can't sing.
You never know with all the drugs stuff. Probably visiting probably don't have teeth. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, thanks for joining us once again on Perception Theory. I don't even know what the theories there are. So make your own theory instead of us old blabber pots. Anyway.
Oh, blabber pots.
Oh, I forgot to do chat up. I forgot chat was not up. Oh, we got Rodri and we got the Funk Master.
Hello, gents.
Hello.
Cheers.
New Motley video is terrible. Yeah, well, the Motley, it's like you said, they should have hung it up decades ago, but anyhow.
Go out on your prime.
That's what I'm saying. So anyway, thanks for joining us. And our topic for today, if we're going to get into it, is, let me just I know we weren't supposed to do anything doing the band, but I've getting people hit me up and shit, so I'm going to let you know. Just so you don't hear any rumors and stuff that Reap the Light has parted ways with Harry Combrick. So I know people are hitting up, they're asking whatever else. We have parted ways with Harry. We wish him well. He just has a lot of other
stuff,
a lot of other priorities and stuff, and we wish him well. I mean, success on what he's got. Just couldn't dedicate hardly really anything to the band, and but that's that, and we're moving on. I only did that because a lot of the people that, or not a lot, but some of the people that watch the show remember or follow the band Reap the Light, our band and stuff like that. So. And
by the way, for anyone that's new to our program, Gary is actually in a band. Just wanted to let you know.
Does it say weird?
Word.
Oh, word.
Okay. Word. He spelled it with the
You don't get it. So you ain't even got the breast stuff down either. Just sit back there and shut up. So anyway,
he's gonna be in a band, all right.
A band.
Have a band.
All right, moving on. So our topic for today is diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI. If you haven't,
Wow.
There you go. Didn't see that coming.
It is apropos.
Yes, it is. And what that is, well, let me just give you the definition so that we're all working. Oh, boy. Yeah, exactly. Diversity, equity, and inclusion encompasses any policy or practice designated to give people of various backgrounds and resources what they need to excel in the workplace. These three values establish a framework for taking into account individuals' differences and informing how companies go about making their workplaces equal, fair, and welcoming to all employees. I would caveat that by saying everybody else's backgrounds and stuff. And I'll get into that here in a second. To let you know what I mean. So basically, so DEI actually starts. Suppose it's just like everything else. Started out like the union started out as a way to get workers' rights, and it was a good thing back in the day. DEI, I guess, for at some point was I don't I understand the concept is okay, but when you try to apply something like this, right? It's like we talked about, like the bullying, effort and stuff in school. They've always talked about no bullying stuff, and it not only has it not worked, I think bullying's gotten worse, and DEI has actually gotten worse, and we're going to go over why that is, because I mean, I don't know, when you shove stuff down people's throat and say this is the way you got to think, it's not going to work too well.
Well, not only that, but it was like, before you get into it, DEI grew out. It was a knee-jerk reaction to the shit that happened in 2020, plain and simple. And there was just this mad rush. Nobody knew what the hell they were doing, but yet they wanted to create this program. So,
yep,
let's do it. And
especially on the heels of in the BLM movement, and they saw what happened there. They pulled in almost $100 million, and not one penny went to any of the neighborhoods or George Floyd's.
They got some nice houses out of it, though.
They did.
And the young lady got some nice houses and some mansions and stuff.
She moved to a white neighborhood
in Beverly Hills.
I'm just saying, God's honest truth,
Mr. Funk. Division, exclusion, and idiocracy.
Yep.
I just want to know how a nonprofit organization goes bankrupt.
No, don't get me started. That's like the United Way. Don't get me. They're the same. They're the same boat. Yeah, I
you just don't like giving people money because you're cheap.
Oh, I like giving. When it
giving people.
Well, I am a penny pinching tightwad.
Freaking Ebenezer Scrooge. All right,
but anyway.
DEI we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a subject for later.
That could be
another
another
show.
topic.
Another show, yes.
Because I would have
nonprofits. Yeah.
Because I would have something to say about Susan G. Komen, but
another good one.
Anyway, and where all that money's going. Okay, so moving on. So what I'm going to start with is diversity. Well, actually, let's start off with, so we understand exactly what we're dealing with. All right. So here is, and this is 2021. All right. So here is the population percentages. All right. So you see that whites are about 60%. Hispanics are almost 20%. They've actually increased.
That changes on a daily basis, especially down in Texas. Sorry.
You dumbass. Blacks in 2001, now we haven't got 2002 or 3, 22 or 23, around 12.6, you can say around 13%. All right, and then we have everybody else. So when we talk about diversity and inclusion and all that stuff, we're talking about making things fair, okay, especially when it comes to representation in companies, or in every other walk of life. All right, so not the fact that I have an issue with diversity, but my issue is, or what my question is, what do we measure? Was that me?
I think it's you.
No, it wasn't me.
I think it's me.
No. So my question is, what are we measuring it to? What is the litmus test, or what is the measuring stick that we're measuring it to? Is it this? So if it's the population of the United States, and that's how we're going to measure it, so if we're saying in every aspect of life, whether that's in the workplace, schools, like colleges, this, that, all that we're talking about, let's just stay on black people, that they have to represent 13% in all walks of life, right? If that's what we're saying, okay. Now, I would beg to say that and I say they as in whoever is implementing a lot of these DEI programs and stuff, don't know what that is. They can't tell you, okay, this is how we're measuring it, and this is what we like. What do you look as a goal as success?
Right. Yeah, that's the question, and nobody knows at this point in time, if we ever will know.
Right. And that's all I'm asking. It was the same thing when we had the topic of women in STEM, and they're saying the influence comes from or to keep when I'm steady. And all I was saying, all I wanted to know is where did that influence come from?
Right.
So with DEI, what are we trying to achieve if we feel that we have not achieved it, and how do we know when we have achieved it?
Right.
Well, and two, another thing that they have to look at too, which they don't do, is geographically. I mean, you get certain, of course, your diversity in an urban setting is going to be completely different than diversity in a rural setting. You know, let's say you're up in the, in North Dakota or Wyoming or someplace like that compared to, DC or Baltimore, whatever like that. So you can't you're going to have two separate systems. So how do you gauge that like you said here with the chart or whatever? So that's another thing. But they try to, like anything else, apply everything with this nice wide big ass brush.
Right.
I'm sorry about that, Justin. It's tied to his job now. So like for instance, they were talking about, or somebody brought up, let's just say either middle management or upper management of manufacturing.
Right.
All right. Now you talk about manufacturing. Manufacturing is usually in more rural type areas. Let's talk about except for like Detroit, but a lot of the car companies, let's just say, they're moving out of Detroit. Like there's a bunch in like Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, and they're in rural areas, right? So unless you have somebody who's willing to pick up and move, right, you're not going to have a whole lot of other people applying, say for a manager job, let's just say, in a rural area.
Right.
So,
yeah. This was another very interesting topic. Again, it's not something that I personally would never think of. And when you came up with this topic, I was like, okay. So I started diving into it, and it's like there's so many for, there's so many against. Warren Buffett actually was one of them that was kind of like you can throw it out of the window. When he looks at someone to run a company, he doesn't care what nationality, what your background is, as long as you are qualified to do the job. And I personally think that's how it should be, but I think the playing field needs to be level and broader. So instead of just looking at 30 to 40 middle-aged white men, it should be you're black.
I beg your pardon.
The straight across the board. Not just looking at a particular race, but make it straight across the board.
Well, that's what they're doing. Like they've just had a big thing with pilots,
right?
Where they were saying, we had to have more. And it's just like a surgeon. I'm like, no, I don't care if you're black, white, Indian, whatever the hell. I want the dude that's the best that knows what the hell he's doing,
right.
Either flying my plane or doing my brains or whatever else. Because when they start doing, I'm like, bruh, how does that make any sense in any way, shape, or form? To where you're going to say, well, we're going to deal with, and here's my question: unless you're saying that there is absolute, which some people are saying that there's institutional racism, it's not happening, then I would say, well, then why are these people not qualified or being qualified for these jobs?
Right. And that was, so one of the other questions I had from looking at this is, let's say a lawyer, okay? You have someone that went to Harvard that got his law degree. And then you have another person that is going through a community college to get the basics down, to get a job, to be able to afford to go for that master's or bachelor's or whatever. Is it like, okay, so let's take the Harvard guy, for instance. The Harvard guy obviously went to Harvard. It's on his resume, but he may have got, I don't know, a 3.0. But you have this other person that went to a community college that racked out at a 4.5. Are we just going to stick with that one from Harvard because it came from Harvard? Or is this other person in the mix with the 4.5, but he didn't go to a Harvard school?
Well, that's because when you get into the higher, like you get into like lawyers or doctors or this and the other, presumably effort to apply DEI aimed at corporate and public organizations rather than areas like private schools, places, country club membership.
You're basically right, Rodri, because basically it's any place that receives funding or money from like the public or whatever. So private industry is a little bit more, especially that it's not publicly traded or anything like that. It's a little bit of a different beast,
right,
of its own. And that's.
But the thing is what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cover it across the board, because you have places where people are really sticking it and saying, "Oh, this is what we need to focus on," but then they look at the rest of it and it's like, "Well, that's okay, whatever. Don't worry about it."
Right.
And so I'm saying it needs to be at least looked across the board, because a lot of people will say, like you talk about corporate, they'll talk about the C-suite, right? They'll say, "Well, how come there's no diversity in the C-suite?" Okay. Way up management. I'm like, okay, well, we could have that argument, but what about middle management, or what about regular jobs? Right. Nobody wants to talk about that shit, right? The fact that I busted my ass to get through, right? But we're not going to talk about blue collar jobs or this job. We're only talking about the C-suite, and that's where I have the issue. Like, who's running all the corporations?
Right.
Okay, we'll talk about that, but. Well, if that's the only thing we're talking about,
everybody wants to skip. Everybody wants to skip and go right from point A to Z. Right. They don't want to do. Right. They don't want to do the middle shit.
Right.
Right. So I wanted to just base it a little bit on. Let's talk about like college, right? Because there's a whole big push to say, well, there's not enough diversity college that people of color or minorities, and they don't have necessarily the ability to go to college. I'm going to tell you, that's bullshit. I just went through it on the FAFSA and everything else, and I'm telling you right now, because of either income or race, that I know my son wasn't eligible for probably 60 to 70% of the scholarships or grants.
Wow.
Yeah. So, again, I understand we're trying to level the playing field, but we're like a seesaw. Like a seesaw with the fat kid on it. Man, that thing's going down quick.
Gotcha.
So for instance, in diversity in colleges, right? So Black or African American enrollment, attendance of students since 1973 has gone up 125%. 67% of students in this demographic attend public institutions. 71% of Black or African Americans attend four-year institutions. 71%. Now, if you listen to people, they're going to tell you that that's probably we hardly have 20% or something of black students going to bullshit.
Right.
Bullshit. Hispanic and Latino attendance has gone up 264% since 76. 80% of students in this demographic attend public institutions. 65% of Hispanic and Latino students enroll in four-year colleges. And I'm telling you, when it comes to grants and or scholarships, there is a huge push for minorities and people of color and everything else, and that I can attest to by personal experience. We've gone through a bunch of this stuff, even different colleges because I got both kids in college or whatever. So yeah, I've gone down this I've ran this gauntlet here, and I'm telling you, if somebody says, "Well, I'm a minority and I can't go to college," I'm like, bullshit. You can go. Basically, you can go for free.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, that's bullshit. All right, so here's another thing I wanted to just get on real quick. Is cultural representation. All right. Now remember, about the black community makes up about 13%. Okay. So let's talk about diversity across. Let's talk about sports. Let's talk about NBA, which is probably the group of the largest income, or the largest income of sports teams.
Gotcha.
By far, is the average salary of an NBA player is the most. Asian community got screwed. Yes. And I know that we didn't touch on that, but Asians got jacked because
especially in admissions to colleges and stuff like that.
And especially, so here's my thing. I'm glad you brought, what is it? Gorbachev. I'm glad you brought that up because even at the higher institutions, the higher learning institutions like MIT, Harvard, Yale, some of these other ones, where Asians usually were obviously the top performers and would get in usually with relatively no issue because of the scores and everything else. They've actually reduced the number of and they've gotten popped for it.
Really?
Asian, oh yeah, they've gotten popped for it. It's gone all the way up to Congress, up to the Supreme Court.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah,
Huh.
yeah. So they're like, well, why would you not want the best qualified or the best students that you have representing your school? And I'm not saying that you screw everybody else, but you screw the people that are the high academics.
Right. That makes no sense.
It makes no effing sense.
Well, in my opinion, that's because today's universities and colleges, as we can see what's going on today, don't care. They're starting not to care about education at all.
That's
all it about is the almighty dollar. They don't care about anything else. That's why education nowadays is like, it's a joke. It's a joke compared to what it was 20, 30 years ago.
That's why I say go to
now,
trade school.
Exactly. Hey, it's easier to get through when you make just as amount of money, and there's jobs available and you make the money.
Yeah, I would say you
That's what I'm
probably
saying.
make more money doing the trades anymore because they're never going to go away.
I saw
You'll make more. You'll make more money faster.
Yeah,
I saw
absolutely.
something on watch Bill Maher this morning, and they were talking about how Harvard has a class on Taylor Swift, a 3-credit college course on Taylor Swift. I'm like, really? Who's going to pay for that? It's ridiculous. And there's so much other bullshit courses, and some of it has been born from DEI programs. That's a complete and utter waste of time, but it's a moneymaker. They think they want
Nobody.
Exactly.
That's the
nobody.
point.
Yeah, nobody. But it's a moneymaker for the college.
Yep.
So they can get their money, put it in their pockets. The private universities, and see, that's the thing. Private universities are on a completely different operating MO than public universities. So
yeah. I mean,
still, I don't know. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
College is a racket. College has been a racket.
It is a
for
racket.
while.
But right now, even because of DEI, and I don't have a problem helping those that need an education to help them if they, whatever. But now, as Tex said, now we have our tax money going to somebody to learn, I don't know, Taylor Swift's history. I don't freaking know.
Right.
But they're learning all this stupid bullshit. So if I'm going for accounting and I'm learning freaking medieval or Jurassic anthropology or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes it, as they say, well-rounded, I guess.
Right.
If I ever have a Jeopardy question on, something in the Jurassic period, I might be able to answer.
Right.
It's stupid.
Well, if you go down into all right, so my sister-in-law is actually a teacher down in Virginia, and she has my minorities and
Please don't tell me she's in Loudoun County.
no.
Okay, go ahead.
So she's had some students that are issues, like the loud ones and things like that don't want to do what they're supposed to do. But currently she has a minority in her class. I think she's like Latino or something like that. This girl works hard every single day, from the minute that she gets into school to the minute that she leaves. But there's something, I guess it's like a breakdown in communication, which is also one of the issues with diversity, because the communication breakdown, I could say something that you guys would get, but that same thing that I would say might piss off 3 or 4 other people because of that communication barrier type of thing. But she went to, the principal and was like, hey, this student is like doing everything that they can, but they're just not getting it, and we got to help her. The response was, just push her along. So you have, the teachers are seeing this, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's more of, I guess, for the school system, do they, if the more people that move on through the years, I guess that's good for them?
Well, they had the one news I was watching last week or the week before, the United States has actually fallen down to like number 30-something in the world as far as education goes. We're being passed over by of course the top ones are Japan, China, and stuff like that. But we're being passed over. We're like 30-something, and our scores are getting worse. And that was one of the things they brought up is now there is no failure anymore. It's, just push them on. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. They'll be fine. I know that for a fact. I had somebody in my family failed like every year in high school. They still graduated. Never got held back. But I remember back when we went to high school.
He's talking about himself.
No, I was about to say when I went to high school and I failed, and I'll admit I failed my junior year because I was screwing around a little bit too much. I had to go to summer school because they were like, "You're going back. You're going to have to repeat your junior year, and if you want to graduate with your class, you're going to have to go to summer school." And that was a kick. That was a kick in the ass.
But see, here's my thing with that, right? So everybody talks about the U.S. and where we are with test scores, or where the U.S. is with this, or where we're that, or where we're Here's the thing. Japan, no diversity, none. China, no diversity, none. Everybody is on the same length, on the same wavelength, on the same language, everything else. Scandinavian countries that always talk about how great they are, no diversity, none, right? So the thing is, we as in the United States, we have, the whole meltdown. We have so many people coming to this country, with different languages. So I know my wife teaches fourth grade, and I know in Frederick County where we live, they actually have interpreter or aides that actually help with the language barriers.
Oh wow, okay.
So they have that. So I'm kind of weird. It's kind of weird that Virginia doesn't have that,
right? Or
maybe it's just the county, whatever. But so we do actually have services for that because we do get a lot of, what they call them, native there's a name for second language speakers, or where English is second. So there's a program. What is it?
ESL, English is second language.
Yes. There you go. And so they have people that sit there and they have people that sit there and do it. So they have that. So my point is, everybody always talks about, the United States, about this, that, and the other. We are the most diverse effing country on the planet. And we do have to have programs and this and the other to try to accommodate as much people, cultures, languages as we possibly can. Nobody else on the planet is doing that shit. None.
But see, the thing is too with that is we've always been like that. We were like that back. We've always been like that. We've been like that in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s. But this is something that's just started becoming recent. So why were we so much better? I guess that's the question. Why were we so much better then than we are now? Yeah, but
because of the influx, we've got people coming in so fast that we don't have the services to provide, and so they put people in, and they'll put where they might have somebody that could handle, say, 4 or 5 kids that aren't speaking English very well, and try to get whatever. Now you got freaking 20, 30, 40, 100 of them,
right?
And we just don't have the resources. So again, you get to the point where Ed was talking about, where they just kind of shove them through, and everything else. I mean, you could talk to my wife about what they call enrollments and stuff, and you'll see just how many are from Mexico or Nicaragua or this, that, the other, and it'll tell you right there, not a fluent English speaker or whatever. So you have people trying to get these kids through, but without being selfish. Then you have the kids that are actually, since they've been here, they kind of get
now
pushed to the side.
I think the other thing too, when you were bringing up the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, here I go. We're going to sound like our grandparents.
I remember back in the day.
You know, so where I work at, as far as diversity goes, you know, we have all walks of life that work there, but we also have college students too, which we've never done before since I had ever been there. You know, as far as everybody working together is amazing. But the one thing from talking to the college students is almost like I kind of feel like our education has been eroded away slowly. Like, you know, when we went to school, I never went to college, but, you know, for those of us that went to college, that paper meant something. And, you know, now it's like everything is done on computer. They don't write anymore. You know, there's certain things that have been taken away, I guess, to maybe lower the bar so we can get higher. But it's just, I feel like the value of an education is eroded because we just want people to move along.
It is. I mean, it is. And they've had, they've had studies where they showed like, you know, like they don't do cursive anymore.
Right.
But they've shown how even stuff like that helps develop parts of the brain.
Sure. That,
you know, or whatever, but we're pulling all that shit out, and it's just like, whatever. So all right, so let me get to where is this one at? All right, so actually, the population is actually so look, it's getting actually more into minorities are increasing, obviously. So here in 2010, whites were about 63.7, and now we're 57.8 in the United States. And then you can see Hispanic, Latino, Black, and then others. Black, you'll see, like, say, Black African American is kind of the lowest increasing.
Right.
Yeah, is the language barrier mostly an urban issue? Must be parts of the U.S. where immigrants don't tend to. Well, so we're not in urban. We're like a suburban. And we have a lot of, I don't know, immigrants, whatever you want to call them. Even we got illegal people coming here, right?
Right.
But see, the thing is the state law is if they enroll in school, you have to take them.
Well, and Roger too, I think it is also rural as well, because a lot of migrants would come in this country to work. These huge farm complexes, orchards. I know, especially up here in Pennsylvania, we have a big migrant population that comes up and works in the apple orchards.
Yep.
And then they'll go, and then once the apple season's over with, they go move and, you know, find some, you know, wherever to go. So a lot of them go back down south.
Some go to California, or whatever.
So yeah, I would say that probably it applies not only to urban, but I would say the rural areas probably have the same issue, just not on a smaller scale because the population isn't as large as what. As
a matter of fact, I would say it's less of an issue in urban settings because you have a lot more people settling in, or people that are already in cities.
Right.
Let's take New York for instance. You'll have a lot of Spanish-speaking people in there that speak English and English and Spanish, or what have you. So I think the issue is less of an issue in urban settings, as it is in suburban settings. But the suburban settings is where we're seeing a higher increase in, let's say, you know, of immigrants or whatever than the city. Well, the cities, they get shipped there. I mean, obviously of late they've seen, you know, the news and whatnot, but we get a strong flow. You know, theirs is like boom, and it's like 50 billion of them. Ours is just like, it's a strong flow though, but we're constantly getting, people in the whatever. All right, so here's what I wanted to talk about real quick: racial diversity in sports. All right, so here is basically the population of in the U.S. You can see the white, black, Latino, and other. All right. Major League Baseball. Let's go with Major League Baseball real quick. Major League Baseball is 30% Latino, 20% African American. All right, so that leaves approximately about 50% are white. All right, again, whites make up almost 70% of the population. Blacks are 13. Well, they're 20%. Hispanics are not 30%. So, but they're 30% of Major League Baseball. Okay, NFL. NFL. Blacks make up 68% of the NFL. All right. Now again, you want the best athletes on these teams and playing in NFL. Don't have a problem with that. Again, if we're talking about diversity and we're talking about we need to make that what is the goal?
Right.
If we're gonna if we're gonna take it to what that population is, well, that's not true diversity, right?
Right.
So that's all I'm asking is what's the question? And then let's go to the NBA. As you can see at the bottom, NBA's 80% black. Well, do we need to knock that down to 12 because that's what actual diversity would be, or 13? No, you want the best players in the NFL, regardless of race or whatever else.
Sure.
But again, what is the goal that we're trying to achieve? Like I said, NBA are some of the highest paid athletes on the planet. On average, right? So again, do we not? Do we whack freaking 50% or no? Do we whack 60%, 70% of what we have to get to a true diversity number?
Right.
Well, I think what from my personal opinion, I think there again, like we do, like everybody does, it was a knee-jerk reaction because back in the 60s and 50s, basically this was all like white. Then you had the minorities or whatever. So then you had the turbulent 60s come about, and then the civil rights movement, and everybody's like, okay, well, we need to just start doing this. So then from the pendulum went from here and started swinging in certain sports, especially basketball, went all the way over here. Well, now I think you're starting to see some correction because I actually think this number was a lot black basketball players was a lot larger a couple years ago, probably about 10 years ago. But now you're starting to see some correction because a lot of European players are coming over, whatever. But you are right. You bring up a point. It's like, okay, so are we basing this on sight or performance? Are we basing this on a race or how good they are? Is it just that white guys just suck at some stuff for whatever?
Well, we do get our ass kicked a lot in a lot of sports. I'm just saying.
But it is interesting, and in like baseball, I think the Hispanic population, and kind of going back to your other chart too, what a lot of people I think overseas don't realize, like here. Okay, so the reason why the Hispanic and Latino population is increasing is, well, that's who surrounds us. They're like they're like our next door neighbor. You don't see anybody from Canada coming. We don't want we don't want him anyway. But they're coming up from. So we got South America, Central America, and Mexico. So that's who we're locked with. That's like over in Europe. It's easy for somebody that's Italian to go live in France or go live in Germany or something like that because they're all interconnected. It's hard to get on a boat unless you're, of course, you're in Cuba. You hop on a raft and you're hit Florida, but nobody's coming over anymore like back in the old days on ships and stuff like that because then you have to do stuff legally.
Well, they're over in Europe. They are.
Yeah.
Well, not so much in there, but like they're like going into like Spain and stuff from like like Africa. And
right.
They're going.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of
they're seeing it on YouTube where they have people are on a beach, and you see these old decrepit ass boats. I mean, beaching right there, and a bunch of immigrants getting off. I mean,
Right.
some people were like, and filming it. It was like, what the hell is going on? It was the craziest thing you've ever seen.
So and so I kind of going like for baseball or whatever. I think that's kind of like. It is strange because it's like, okay, so a lot of Hispanic. Now, I'd be curious as to what the demographics of soccer looks like because soccer, I think, is very.
Yeah, but I mean that's not like a huge
in the United States. We're not a huge soccer country,
right?
But I'd be curious as to what the makeup
the
is.
UK. I'd be interested in what UK, what their demographics are for soccer, because that's kind of where
it's the birthplace there.
That's where a lot of people originate, or go to play the top tier soccer
now
or football.
I think with the NBA, the statistics on that, and I'm just kind of spitballing here. So I'm thinking that, like, with the urban communities, like the blacks, for instance, I mean, because I know growing up as a kid, there were a lot of black kids that we played basketball with. And I can tell you, I think a lot of those kids were looking as that sport is a way to move up.
Correct.
And I think that, when you look at the NBA, these kids are getting scholarships to get into a college, and they're busting their ass through colleges to make it into the NBA. And I kind of wonder, like, with the whites in the NBA, if, again, these guys are getting in with scholarships for the education, and, the hell with basketball or anything.
Well, another thing too to take into consideration too is, let's look at rosters. Okay, let's look at how many people are on a team.
Right.
And and I agree with you 100%, because I think, and it still exists to this day, that a lot of inner city black youth, and I'm just going off of this is my opinion, so from what I see, a lot of inner city black youth think that the only way they can get out and live the life is by playing sports, by playing basketball. It's not education, because how many people do you see, on commercials and stuff like that are like, it's the educator of the year? No, it's all sports people, celebrities, stars or whatever, and they're showing you their mansion and stuff like that. So all these inner city kids are like, I'm playing basketball.
Right.
I want to be the best basketball player I could possibly be. Well, let's look at roster size. So baseball has how many people on their roster? About 20, 30 people.
Right.
Football, NFL, has
53
people on their roster. The NBA has like 15. That's it. You to make an NBA team, I mean, it's like this dream that everybody's like, I'm going to go and I'm going to play in the NBA. No, you're not. You have 500 colleges that have all basketball teams. That's like the NCAA tournament. All these NCAA tournaments, you have all these colleges, all these basketball teams, and probably out of all those players, 5 or 10 will make the NBA. The rest, you're on your own.
Right.
Because the NBA, the roster is not that big. The team roster is not that big. And you can play minor league. They got the G League or whatever like that. They got like baseball. Baseball has the Triple A and Triple A that you can go to and play. Well, that means you make the majors? Not necessarily.
Right.
Because you're limited in roster size.
Right.
So that's another thing I think to take in consideration, especially when you're looking at the NBA, as far as racial diversity is concerned. Because your team, you only have 5 starters on the floor, and then you just have your bench players.
Right.
So it's like of course the NFL, you have your offense, defense, you have a lot more to play with. Baseball the same way, your pitchers, your all this other stuff. So I think that's something else.
Sure.
That a consideration for,
so that makes these numbers even more significant.
Right.
That's a good part. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
If we are talking about diversity across the board, then these numbers are even more significant, because if you have a small roster, as you do with the NBA or whatever, but you got 80% black for the whole league, right? So again, I'm not saying we should get rid of all these black players, but might be. What I'm saying is the diversity has got to be across the board, and we only take certain little freaking sesame seeds of things that we want to talk about as far as what we consider diversity.
Right.
Okay, but we don't talk. Okay, for instance, construction and bricklayers and all that stuff. That's predominantly white. Why aren't we complaining about that we don't have enough black people laying brick?
Right. same thing with Hispanics when it comes to like that labor, the hard labor work,
roofing work,
yeah.
or general construction work and stuff like that.
So we should remove half of the Latinos because they don't make up the percentage, right? That's all I'm saying. So it's like we pick the little things this and then we talk about diversity, but we do not talk about diversity.
I see
That's
what
the
you're
problem.
saying.
No, I know. I got what you're saying. It's like as a whole,
Yeah.
people cherry pick.
Right.
It's like this cherry picking of what they want to argue diversity for and what they don't want to argue diversity
Right.
for.
So I would actually say that diversity in this country is actually way better than people make it out to be. Right?
Good point.
Because the point, even if you're talking about 13% of the population, let's just talk about 13% of the population. Okay, well, half of those are, children or whatever else. So if you look at, and then you got, whatever. So if you look at the employable or student type person or whatever you want to call it, that's either going to go into academics or and then goes to a job, whatever else, that piece is even more narrow than that.
Right.
Because then you got to go to the different races or whatever and say, what is the desire to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Right.
Like you just said, a lot of kids in the black community, they aren't looking to be doctors, lawyers, this, that, blah 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 blah. It's basketball. I want to be a basketball or a football player. Right. So I am not. So in general, I'm not gonna take that road to be a doctor, lawyer, or diesel mechanic, whatever.
Right.
So therefore, a lot of the places where you might not see the diversity is not not necessarily that they're not being open to diversity. It's because the people, depending on that culture or whoever it is, they're not going that direction.
Right. And this is the same thing that we were talking about with the STEM.
Correct.
So it makes sense that, once you get knee deep into something, it's you either like it or you hate it.
Well, in the two, also, one thing about sports, is it's getting to a point now where we're become international. So you have these scouts that go around, and I actually do believe now, compared to what it was 20, 30 years ago, are looking for the best. That's why you see a lot of scouts now going over. They're not limiting themselves. Back in the day, the scouts were just limited to looking here in the States or like Mexico or Canada, like hockey. So we should have done one for hockey. That would have been a curious. But hockey,
yeah.
But hockey, so they were just kind of stayed on their home base when they looked for scouting. Now they're going everywhere. It's like that's why you're seeing. I love watching NBA, and you're seeing now a lot of European players in the NBA. Why? Because scouts are going to places like Greece. They're going over to France. And they're seeing these basketball players that never got seen, but that nobody saw before, and they're like, "Holy shit, this guy's good!"
Right.
Or like Serbia and some of them play where they have the freaking giants.
Yeah, exactly.
No shit,
800-foot dudes.
That's
like shit.
Well, that's like in baseball. They're going to down to South America.
Japan.
You got Ohtani.
Now they're Japan and stuff like that, and they're like, these guys are good.
Ohtani,
we want you to come here to play baseball here in the state. Yeah, poor Ohtani and his little interpreter.
That's sad.
But beat him over the head with that baseball bat.
But I think you're seeing this globalization now, and even Rodri brought it up about the Premier League because they're international. The same thing, but it's easier for them because Europe, with England right there, it's easy for European players to go all over the place.
Right.
Mm-hmm. African players and stuff like that is because it's relatively close. Here we were just kind of like stuck with South America and like Canada, Central America, Mexico. Well, now we're branching out everywhere. So I think that's why you're starting to see some sort of a little bit of a change. And it's just I would like to think it's like getting the best people possible, but that's in sports. But you're not seeing that in any place, any other business. Now it's just like it's filling numbers. Well, it's been like that with the affirmative action stuff. Some people with the affirmative action is filling quotas, filling boxes. you don't have to be the best qualified to work here, but you are of this protected class or whatever. So, come on. I think now with sports, though, it's like I think now in sports they are looking at who is the best.
Right.
Who's going to give me push.
Should have joined up back in the 80s as if they could do their jobs, they would get on. I'm not even sure what he's meaning about that.
Get on what? Roger, are you drinking again?
He's drinking. Yeah, so part of what I'm saying is that so many other countries and or whatever, and you look at the U.S. as in sports, the corporate companies that are owned, because if not as because if they could do their jobs, they would get on. Okay. So, but the thing is like I said about the U.S. is corporate, blue collar, sports, whatever you want to say.
Right.
My thing is that U.S. is more diverse than any other country. So there's so many more, maybe not problems, but so many more needs or something that have to be met to level that playing field that I think we're doing. Are we perfect? No. Definitely not. And we could always do better. But I think we're doing the most that any other country possibly can to level that playing field as much as we can, because the point of it is where it talks about equity.
Right.
My big thing is we need to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to do what they can, but not the outcome. A lot of people want the outcome.
Right.
And it's like, no. I give you the opportunity that I give everybody else. And what you do with it is what you do with it, right? But no, people want outcome,
and they want to go there again. They want to go from A right to Z and skip everything in between.
And skip everything else, and it's like that's not the way the world works,
right?
And I think we are doing the best out of anybody else, and that's, of course, I'm a little biased. We're doing the best out of any other country to level that playing field because we have the most diversity,
right?
Well, and where else could you? I guarantee. I love it's like the time I went to Japan. I loved it. I loved going to Japan. I love the Japanese.
Oh,
so I love going over there. However, they are they're called you. It's just like a lot of those places. You have to assimilate to their culture. They are not going to assimilate to yours. I'm going to tell you that right now. A lot of them over there in Japan do not speak English. A lot of most of Europe teaches their kids in school how to speak English. That's just a given because that's a predominant language, I guess. But over in Japan, no, they don't teach English. You have to go to a specific school and otherwise learn English. So otherwise, they don't teach it. It's all Japanese. They have no desire to learn any other language unless they're doing business. They're international business. Then they learn the language of whatever like that. So there is no actual diversity. Here in the United States, we try to please or try to adapt to everybody, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Black, whether you're Asian, whether you're African, whether you're European, and all of the European, whether you're French, Spanish, Italian, German, Russian. Yeah. So,
but our schools
see,
would teach some of our kids to speak English.
Yeah. Proper English would be nice.
Yeah, right. They got the Cockney. Hey, some of our English ain't that great either. There, Roger.
No. You got that right.
But yeah, I agree. I do agree with you that we have our problems, but I think we deal with the most.
We're the most, I would say, generous in adapting or trying to provide services and or whatever to people who are, don't speak English or not of the culture, this and the other. So speaking of culture, this is what I wanted to talk about. So where else in any other country do you have 13% of the population, I'm talking about the black culture, that is so that is so absorbed or whatever in a country, right? You look at 13% of the cultures of the U.S. is black, but you look at the Grammys. Look at all the Grammys. It's hip hop and this and the other and a minority artists, boom, have taken it over. In clothing and music and this and the other. So I just brought up like the Super Bowl halftime shows, which I have an issue with. But anyway, but I wanted to lay it out because if we're talking about diversity, Super Bowl halftime show is probably one of the most watched events, not even the Super Bowl itself, but the Super Bowl halftime show is one of the most viewed events out of anywhere else in the world, of anything in the world. Okay? 2023 was Usher with Alicia Keys and a bunch of other black artists. 2022 was Rihanna and a couple other black artists. 2021 was Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. Well, we did have Eminem, a little token. Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, all African American. 2020, The Weeknd, African American. And then in 2019 we had Hispanic, which we had Shakira, Jennifer Lopez, Bad Bunny, and and whatever else. So again, and of course they're paid a shitload of money to do these halftime shows. So again, the biggest event of the year and the biggest viewed portion of that event, the halftime show, last 5 years has been minorities, or mostly black. So again, diversity. Tell me where are we missing the ball, right? Now going under to training. So DEI training. There's a lot of corporations are doing DEI training, and part of the issue is what they find out is DEI training. We can get rid of this. That's the only graphic I have. The DEI training is not very effective at all. So they did studies like the DEI training aren't effective to any kind of long-term belief or behavioral change. They do short-term educational interventions, but generally people do not change. Now, what that means is, or actually, let me rephrase that as a question. What does that mean? Does that mean that everybody in the U.S. is racist and we're not going to deal with any other minorities?
Right.
Or does it mean that we should go on the premise of whoever is best qualified for the job, and that's how we roll? Okay. Changing attitudes doesn't necessarily change behavior. Surprisingly little correlation between most people's attitudes and behavior. Even correlation between bias and discrimination is weak. They've studied. Anti-bias training can reinforce stereotypes. It's hard to ignore something you're told to ignore. Diversity training typically encourages people to recognize and fight the stereotypes they hold, which actually is counterproductive because they bring up the stereotype. And lastly, diversity training can activate defensiveness. Participants frequently react to diversity training with hostility, resistance, confusion, and anger. Some people feel more animosity towards other groups after diversity training. There are a few reasons this may be the cause. So, but if you look at the diversity training that a lot of people are doing, and even CRT, critical race theory, that's in schools, is basically they're basically screwing both sides. They're saying white people, you're all racist and oppressive, and this and the other, you're pieces of shit. Then it goes to the black children or whatever, and saying, hey, you're a victim, and you can't do anything for yourself because of the white person, so you're kind of, you can't do this and do that, so we have to help you, so basically you're a piece of shit as well. So they put that on both sides, and it's like, they're basically,
You're pitting each other.
Yeah. And it's like, bruh, but again, you have these people that are doing it because that's how they make money.
Right. Now, I think the other thing, with this whole subject is it's uncomfortable. I think as a society, we have made it uncomfortable because I don't want to offend you.
You did.
I don't want to offend you.
I am.
But do you see what I mean? And it's like, I don't know if it'll ever be like that, but it shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
It just, I I don't know. Somewhere, I know back in the days there was the race riots and things like that, but I was thinking, at least through my time when I was going through school, we didn't ever look at a race or anything like that. I mean, we would pick teams in gym class, and it didn't matter. We even had to pick the sucky kids; they went last, but
Who are usually white.
yeah, I was one of those. I'm not going to deny it. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it's like we're so trying to please everybody that we're making it uncomfortable on the other hand.
Well, and now it's people are being taught now to be offended by everything.
Right.
We're taught back in the day. I mean, in order to offend somebody, you really had to. I mean, you had the key words, the N word or the W word, or cracker. You had certain, but there was there was certain things. Now, it's the offense, or you offend me. Why? Because because this is a white tie event and you're wearing black. You offended me. It's like, you know what? I'm going to offend you with 5 of these across your lips. But I think the people are changing this whole. They want to be offended by everything, and feel the victim. They want to play the victim. Oh, feel sorry for me. Because because of this. Because I think that's one of the reasons why. It's like back in the day, were the race riots justified? I tell you what, if I had. Was beaten down or something like that for kind of no reason, I'd be a little pissed off myself.
Absolutely.
So there was justification. Let's move now. Okay, so what happened to, or let's say like Rodney King. What happened to Rodney King? Would that have pissed me off? Pretty much, because I mean there was really kind of no justification when you have eight dudes standing around.
Right.
I mean, I don't care if this guy was hipped up on goofballs or not. But anyway, but now every little thing, they want to sit there. Like, well, let's look at the shit that's going on now on the college campus. That could be a whole other subject with the whole pro-Palestinian, quote unquote, pro-Palestinian, and the Jews. So, but it's like, but everybody's offended by everything. If you look at somebody wrong, I'm offended. You gave me a leer. Or you want my body, like women, certain women, it's like you can't even kind of make eye contact with them. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? It's like, lady.
Don't flatter yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You ain't all, honey, you ain't all that. Just keep going. But then again, there are still some segments of society. I heard it when I was up there in old Hagerstown, that big old metropolis. These girls were walking by and these dudes started catcalling them. So it's like, dude,
we're going back.
I know. It's like so it does exist in some parts, but it's like we don't have a middle ground anymore. It's either you're here or you're here.
Right.
Yeah. It's nothing in moderate. Yeah. The whole Palestinian Israel thing, that we could definitely do a whole show about that. I got my opinion, but I'm not going to go through
ignorance is definitely the key.
Well, especially when you got them screaming, "We are Hamas."
Well, there again, it's
90% of you guys would be dead.
Right.
Well, and one there again. Well, they had an interview with this one chick from one lady. I'm sorry, chick's a little sexist, but they had this one. She didn't even know what the hell it was at NYU, and she was like, the pro-Palestinians or whatever, and they're like, well. And she's like, in NYU, but I'm not. What is NYU actually doing? She didn't even know what the hell she was protesting. And that goes back to what you brought up about not being educated.
Right.
They don't. None of them are educated. They have no clue. It's like, have you heard of the 100-day? What is it? The 100-day back in the 70s or whatever when Israel was attacked by Syria, and it's like, have you all heard about that? No. What is that? Did that happen back? Was that the Indians?
Okay, but that's then. This is now.
Yes, right. But they're not. They don't know history.
Right.
And it's like they want to take. Well, there again, social media. Oh, where'd you get that from? TikTok? I got it from TikTok and Instagram. Oh, because
so I know it's right.
Jenny B, that influencer, she has over 1 million viewers. Well, she told me to come out here.
She wouldn't say it if it wasn't true because she's got so many followers.
Right.
It's wait, where am I?
Stupid.
So it's
But my point is we actually have people bowing down to this kind of bullshit or people's opinions that of opinions where they have no basis, they haven't done any research. That's why I'm like, F all y'all. I don't give a shit.
they need to get some wood shampoo right across the whole
handle shampoo.
So just real quick, so when are we talking about the DEI training? So one of the big ones was the North Face company. And so they were offering, this is not even their employees, this is customers. They offered them a discount, and I looked this up I said, there's no way. There's no way somebody's going to come, a company like that's going to come out and talk this shit and whatever. And it's like, no. I looked at it, and multiple sources, and no, it's real shit. And matter of fact, North Face admitted it. They said, well, it's this to teach blah, blah, blah. Then they tried to get some little more information, and then North Face climbed up. So the company was offering customers a discount if they completed an equity course that teaches that white people never experience racism and how the outdoors are oppressive to black people.
I need to.
So they said they launched a racial equality course that said white people never experience hardship due to the color of their skin, and that black people are barred from outdoor activities because of systemic racism and oppression. So there's a line of white people at the national park and saying, "Get out of here, black people." Really? What? The course which offered customers 20% off learning about anti-racism for 1 hour contained elements of critical race theory, which is actually going off in schools. The outdoors are oppressive to black people.
They are.
So how come I see all the Subaru commercials and it's black people out in the woods?
It's oppressed me as a fat person.
Yeah, that too. So it's just it's
wow.
I think part of the issue is people think that even if they don't agree with diversity, they don't think it's going on at the level that it is. Coca-Cola was another company that was not so much the customers that were teaching their people diversity training, and it was definitely along those lines of white people are racist and oppressive, and black people and other minorities are victims, and that white people need to check their, but it's like Coke. You're all run by white people, you dumb shits. So that's you, okay? So the only you're the ones that actually have the ability to change the diversity of the company. But no, you're gonna kind of browbeat your employees that they seem to be the problem.
Right.
You dumb son of a bitches. See, this is the kind of shit I'm talking about.
Well, and in their hiring, they I know that you've experienced it, and you said you did too. It's like being in the military, or working for the government. We always had to go through training, and it wasn't DEI training or whatever, but it was just recognizing, you kind of knew the things that to say. It's like sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is huge, especially in the military. But it's like you sit there and watch it. It's like, you knew what to do, what not to do, but you had to go through it, and it was very basic. And I thought the training was actually pretty good. But now they're hiring because of this whole DEI thing. It's like these companies, I think, knee-jerk reaction. They had to hire these people without vetting what they were actually teaching. So you had these people that were hired that had ulterior motives, that are not open to other cultures and races, because not only were they spewing about white people as being oppressive or systematically racist, but they were also saying that Asians coming over were taking over neighborhood, store. It's just like this. It's like, who are you? Did you vet this person at all? Well, I have a degree in DEI. Oh, that's a new thing too. Now you can get a degree, a bachelor's degree in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusivity. Well, it's like, if you would sit there, my thing is this: if you would just have exposure, there's nothing wrong with training your employees about issues or whatever that's going on, but you got to, like you said, it's like, and you mentioned it here, it's like, if you constantly focus on a white male, grabbing some woman's butt, or looking, not hiring, constantly making, laughing or sitting away from your minority employee, the black guy in the office or whatever, making fun of them or whatever, and you constantly just show this over and over again. When you're white, most of your white employees aren't like that. They're not going to like, you're causing more, and then you've got you're just causing more chaos than you are alleviating anything. And I think that's another reason why you're also seeing companies are like, they've realized DEI was bad, and a lot of big corporations now are starting to cut ties with.
So in 2022, they spent $3 billion on DEI training. Now, if I'm thinking, how much, let's just talk about employee salaries or other training of legitimate training or whatever, that you could have spent $3 billion on, rather than just saying white, you're a piece of shit, and black, you're a piece of shit, because you're the victim and you're the oppressor. Really?
Yeah, you could reinvest that right back into your company.
You could. It's effing stupid. And I think there was only one more thing I wanted to hit on, which was they said so Harvard Business Review did a study and analyzed 800 companies around the world and found that with 5 years of diversity training, the share of black women managers actually decreased by 9%. So DI training, doing this, blah blah blah, actually African American women down by almost 10%.
Well, one of the things I found kind of going along with that, it's called tokenism. And it's the uncomfortable truth is that the diversity without inclusion may be perceived as tokenism, which can ignite negative boomerang effects on the most well-intentioned organizations. These individuals are underrepresented, placed in positions of senior leadership or other areas previous lacking diversity, often feel like tokens once they realize that they may be on the team, but they're not really in the game.
So they said hiring as a person, okay, you got me here, but you really don't want me here, or right. You didn't really hire me for my aptitude, experience, or whatever else. I'm just here to fill it, like Dex said, check the box.
Yeah, just go sit over in that seat over there and do your own thing.
Yep, check the box.
Oh, Rodri was censored again.
No.
Quit cussing online, Rodri.
Yeah, sit down.
But I agree with that. My personal thing is, if you just left it alone, the problem is you call it out when it happens. The problem is you can't take this wide brush and sweep it across and include everybody. Yes, there are some companies that are racist. Yes, there are people that are racist of all nationalities or whatever. But when it occurs, you call it out at that particular time and single out that particular organization. You can't sit there and say you paint everybody with this wide brush. My biggest thing with corporations is, you brought it up, most corporations are run by lily white males. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's always going to stay like that, because what happens, when they get ready to pass on, they leave it to their family, this thing called nepotism. That's, I think, a bigger problem than anything else is hiring a family and friends. Okay, well, you're not really qualified for the job, but you know what? We play golf together a lot, so I'm going to hire you to take this position. And that's what, in my opinion, happens in C-level positions a lot. Is they hire their family. You know, they'll hire Junior, who still picks his nose, to become the chief financial officer. You're going to be my CFO. Go over there, but Daddy, I don't know what I'm doing there. Well, you go talk to somebody. You know,
You do what I tell you.
right.
Right.
But until it has changed where you're seeing like more women in the C-suite. But it's like, I'm telling you right now, the white male dominance in corporations like your Warren Buffett,
Bezos.
See,
and here's another one. Here's another one is you have Bill Gates. Often portrays himself as the philanthropist and is all about inclusive this and inclusive that and all this other stuff. Bullshit. You gotta really lock down on him and see what he's got going on. I'm telling you, he was one of the biggest ones on. He was very, very influential on the whole COVID lockdown, this, that, and the other, and the what do you call it? Not antidote.
The vaccine.
Vaccine. Then you go look at his stuff, see where he was invested.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
it's all
you're
everything
full of
has
shit.
to do
But
with
my
money.
point is, he likes to portray himself as the great white hope. I'm here to help everybody else. This, that, and the other. Bullshit.
He's the white savior.
It's all about the money. And people. And I'm telling you, if you look at these people and don't listen to what the frick they're saying. Check their actions. See where they are. See what they're doing, and you'll find out it is bullshit. And it's bullshit. A bullshit.
So I was looking at positives and negatives on this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one scenario that what would happen if diversity was taken to the extreme? What society experienced in those years is what could potentially happen if diversity was taken to the extreme in the workplace. Societies with high education levels would have doctors driving cabs, immigrants doing the unwanted labor, and high levels of automation, which would reduce the need for diversity in the first place. So think about it.
Maybe that's where they want it to go.
It could possibly be.
Maybe that's where they want to go. If I automate my stuff, I don't have to deal. Well, obviously I don't pay them salary.
Right.
I don't have to deal with all the freaking HR issue bullshit. I don't have to deal with health insurance, all this other bullshit.
Oh yeah.
I just hire a handful of dudes that can work on those and keep the machines running. Other than that,
Yep.
There's again, that's in blue collar jobs too.
mm-hmm.
You know, got to keep and see that's where you need to look at is because you're right. Automation's actually going to get more and more. They have doctors now that can perform certain surgeries by robots. They can do it remotely. The doctor can be sitting in another state and actually control this robot to actually do just minimal. It's not invasive surgery or whatever. It's not like they're slicing a brain open or whatever. But he can actually do stuff remotely, and it's like this is crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. Well, look at our favorite state of California. You know, because of him, the governor there putting in this minimum wage. Now you got these fast food places are really speeding up automation at their places, so they don't have to worry about hiring employees.
Right.
They have
Because they can't afford it.
Right. They have their manager and maybe 2 other people, and the rest of it's going to be done by automation.
Right. Well, the other thing too with that is that goes to us as the consumers. You know, that burger that used to be $1.99, it isn't going to be $1.99.
Right.
You know, your Royale with cheese might be $5 or $6 at this point in time.
And then people are just gonna be like, I can't afford it anymore.
So why am I going to go there?
That goes into my whole big issue, which I'm not going to get into here. But my next topic, whenever it's my turn again, is going to be about kind of like the green energy, electric cars, that whole business, because that is creating. And I'll just say this. So the reason I did pick DEI for this one is because the place that I work, and I won't tell you where, but the place that I work has implemented such a effed up program where we're supposed to be watching the world and kind of keeping America safe. I'll just put it that way. But we are now, even the text said, we're now worried about who we offend, people's feelings. Do we have this number of people in this section or whatever else? If not, then we're just completely whatever. They're spending so much. They have whole departments based on this shit. And it's like, dude, there's a mission out there. How about we focus on that? Because that's actually what we're here for.
Right.
So that's why I probably, because it got me so pissed off. Because I'm just like, guys, can we just, because it really came about to this quote unquote DI was talking about calling out people and just, just having, we call it just elevating them and just, oh, you're such a great, but no, you're getting paid a lot of money. Go do your effing job, jackass. Yeah. But no, we want to elevate people, then just go about this and just pat ourselves on the back that we're doing this.
Well, I think
it drives me nuts.
As you said, and we've mutated it so bad. But I think the overall gist of DEI, when you look at it, it's not a bad concept to understand. Okay, if you take a, I'll say it because we're all white guys. If you take a white guy that grew up out in the North Dakota, and you transfer him to the big city, he's never been around black people or Hispanic people or gay people or whatever. But if you give him that exposure, say, okay, let's learn a little bit about this culture, whatever. To me, that's fine. Exposure to other people's cultures and experiences and stuff like that. But when it's the negativity, there again, it's like this negative connotation. Well, the reason why you haven't experienced this stuff is because you're the problem. It was your people that did it. Well, the kid's like, I'm up on a farm in North Dakota. What the hell did I do?
Right.
What the hell did I do to you? We sat there and did cornfields or whatever like that. Yeah, but you're white. Because you're all a part of the problem. But it's like on the surface level, if they just stuck to what it was supposed to be, to expose you to other people's cultures. That's why it's schools. I thought when I was in elementary school back in the 70s, I thought I was exposed because we learned about a lot of cultures in school. So even though it was mainly white, predominantly white, kids in the school or whatever, but we learned about a lot of different things. But now it's like everybody's so laser folk. Well, we're not. You don't want to learn about this. We're going to learn about this only or whatever. So it's just taken it to the extreme,
right? And
it's ruined it, and it's turned us against. It's turned into a joke. Really, DI has turned into a complete and utter joke.
So some of the disadvantages. There's a bunch that were listed, like. A couple things that popped out at me is the communication barriers was definitely one of them. And then you have, what was the other one? Okay, so the biggest one to me was workers in diverse environments often fear outsourcing and offshoring. So try calling Comcast or Xfinity or whatever and see what you get. I don't know if they're being, if they're here, if they're overseas, which, again, I don't have a problem with that. But, the thing is, it's almost like corporations are being force-fed this stuff.
Well,
and it's going to cost you money, $3 billion. Mm-hmm. So, okay, well, I won't have to worry about that because I have people that are over in Taiwan that are ready to take this position over, and they know what to do. And there's people over here that can correspond with them. So I won't have to worry about that.
corporations have been doing that because they're again, it's money.
Saving money.
It's money. It costs them more in the long run to hire an American worker than it is for them to offshore their customer service over into India, which there's a lot of customer service, like HP, AT&T. There's like a whole bunch. They're right there in India. And they pay them, let's say, $2 an hour, whereas if they hired an American worker, they'd have to pay them, at least $10 an hour. Oh my God! So I'm going to get the $2 an hour guy.
Right, but again,
but that's also forcing upon that they can use that DEI as excuse. Is like, well, hey, look at us!
Right.
Look what we're doing.
Yeah, but now you get to the point where people are like, I've gotten to the point where like I don't give a shit anymore.
Right.
I'm not buying that because I know that I'm gonna have to. If I have a problem with it, I'm gonna have to talk to somebody, and it's not being racist. It's like I'm gonna have to talk to somebody that can't understand me, and I can't articulate the problem, and then I just get frustrated because number one, I know it's going to end up turning into a ball of shit anyway.
Right.
But the simple fact that you can't understand me, I got to repeat it 5,000 times. I'm not buying that product anymore.
Yep.
I'm not going to do it.
And then you have to go
breakdown.
Then you have to go through a bot too first. First you have to go through the bot.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go through the bot, and then you go to the guy, the person that you can't
And
understand.
I just experienced that. Was it last week or week before? My car got compromised again, and I had to call Bank of America to say, hey, blah blah blah. I'm protesting whatever this one and this one, and it went to the Indian dude. And he's like, and number one, I'm going to be honest. You call it racist or what? I had a problem with him having access to my account for number one. But, whatever it is, I'd say, okay, you're here to help me. That's fine. Let's go through it. And he was like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. That's not what I'm saying. So I'll just tell you exactly what it was. So the thing is through the band and stuff, we do promotions and stuff through Facebook and this and the other, or Meta, right? So, So I did a campaign, which was, so much per month or so much per day for a week, and it had the cap, and that's what it was. Well, so that was supposed to be like, say, $50, okay, for say a 2-week campaign for the band. Well, I had $130 some charge come off, whatever else. So I'm trying to explain to him, okay, yes, I'm doing business with them. Okay, and I had the whole receipt thing, which I sent, PDF'd and sent it to him. I said, but as you could see, it was only supposed to be a $50 thing, and I think it has a little bit of fee, so it would have been like $60, okay, like $10 fee, whatever it was. You're talking about close to $150, and then there was a second charge for $200. Exactly. So I'm like, no. He said, but you've done business. I said, yes. But they're not. But here's what they're supposed to have taken out was the $50-some, and they took out $150 and then another $200.
Right.
And they're like, well, we see that you do business with them, so it's a good. No. Yeah, I'm doing business with them, but it's $50, not $150, and sure as hell ain't $350.
Right.
So it went through this whole big pile of shit. Well, I'm trying to dispute these charges, and they keep saying, well, you've done business with them. It's not somebody that just hacked your account. I said, and since it is, they're only supposed to take out $50. Here's the receipt for the whole campaign.
Right.
Total. And it was just a whole pile of shit that I had to deal with them.
Did they get it eventually taken care of?
I got the one and not the other. So I'm like, but, so I was going to like, F y'all. I'm going to move all my shit out of Bank of America. But then I went and looked at, some of the other banks and everything that would take to set all that shit up. And they want specific things and how this works. I'm like,
assholes.
Screw it.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it. I'm not. And they
know, but see, they know that.
I know they know that.
They know that it's a pain in the ass to swap. So
right.
they're like
bastards.
Yeah.
I mean, all the stuff that you have your card on, your direct deposit. I mean, the whole.
You don't think about it until it happens to you, and then it's just like, ooh.
So even then, it was just like, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You're not understanding what I'm saying. I see on your card that you've dealt with them before, so it's a good no.
Right.
That has nothing. It's like that has nothing. What if there was an employee? It could have been an employee that worked there that got a hold that saw that was using internally to charge.
But their whole thing was whether or not it was a charge on there that came from wherever. And I'm like, no, I've dealt with them, and it was just like, I just wanted to beat my head against the table.
Is this thing on?
Yeah.
So anyway, anyway. So.
Diversity.
There you go. We've covered it, and again, I think it's like Tex said. I think it's something that was meant to do something at one point, but they just took it and they put it on steroids, and it went the whole way the frick over here, and now we got this pile of shit where nobody wants to deal with anybody anymore now. Mm-hmm. Because I might be offended.
Well, that's like what Mr. Funk just said.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't open your mouth without second guessing what you're going to say.
Yeah,
or what you have to sit there and really think about what you're going to say before you say it for fear of
racist or misogynistic or homophobic or
sexist
or this. It's like, you know what? Don't even freaking talk to me then.
How about sign language? But then again, if you do your probably the deaf people, they're probably like, if you do the fingers wrong or whatever like that.
Yeah,
I got one for you there.
He did it in all caps. What the hell's wrong? Why is he yelling at me?
But I agree, and then I think that these people are hiring these people to take these jobs, getting paid a shitload of money, that have no idea what the hell they're talking about. They have no idea how to train people. They have no idea how to deal with people,
or even know the business.
Yeah, so it's like so that again, that's a part of that extreme. It's like,
because then they can't even give you a case study or a use case to say, okay, you guys do manufacturing or whatever, so so blah blah blah. No,
right?
They're just gonna come straight from you're a piece of shit and you're oppressive and a racist and
then we didn't even get into the whole LBGTQ plus, because they keep adding. Somebody said they keep every week they're like adding a new gender or sexual preference thing to the plus. I'm a transphobic ghost.
I did have
sexual. I'm in my protected class.
I did have one where I was going to talk. Well, at some point, or maybe do one on that one where they had the school was actually going to implement that you had to use tree as tree, TREE, as far as how to respond to somebody. Pronouns.
Okay.
Yeah. So the county blocked that, but the school was going to do that, implement that.
What, that you had to say tree?
That if that was going to be included as a pronoun, and you had to use that with people.
Oh, I'm a tree.
Well, no, they just say tree instead of saying they or z or zay. It's tree.
I want to be a rock.
I know. It's like, now I want to get into this, and because we're going long. They've got kids that are identifying as animals, and they've actually had where they've bit people.
I've seen that.
They are bit other kids. And the schools are allowing them, they're dressing up with not like a full deal, but they're kind of with things and this and the other, and they're acting like they're animals. And it's like,
they're furries to be.
Yeah.
But get ready, Vancouver. They're coming for you.
Vancouver. And it's like, are you out of your effing mind?
Yeah.
And people don't realize, these college kids don't realize, if that shit tried to happen over in Iran and Saudi Arabia and shit like that,
no, it wouldn't happen.
Exactly. They'd be underground.
Yeah.
6 feet or in the sand.
Yeah. Well, going back to diversity real quick, what I'm thinking is it's going to be natural selection through the long run. Like, we're looking at the real racists that have started to die off. And I'm kind of thinking that maybe with this new mindset that is coming along, whether it be good or bad, that it will progress itself and the bad portions will eventually die away. But I do agree with diversity. I truly do. I think that everybody as a playing field should be level, especially when it comes to jobs. As far as sports go, just like you were saying with the NBA, the best of the best of the best. I'm not going to pay, $75, $100 to watch some goofball that played rec ball for 3 years.
Yeah, because you can go watch the WNBA and see that. Oh, got her.
Oh my God.
Except Caitlin Clark. Now she's the doll. She's the doll of the talk of the town.
They're nailing her to the wall about this, that, and the other. She's bringing money into your league.
Mm-hmm.
Just take it and run with it.
Yep.
But no.
All the WNBA games in Indiana are sold out.
Yeah.
Well, so are the other ones.
Yeah.
Where they're going.
Yep.
So
she's adding money. She's adding to your revenue. You're going to make more as a player if this continues.
Right.
But no, you're going to slam her.
Right.
So,
And hey, you know what? Good for her. Again, going back to the STEM program, hopefully this is something that we will see more and more women start to top out in college sports and, get into these professional leagues with sports. I mean, I think this is awesome for her especially, but for women's sports in general, just to have someone that's like, that's my superhero. I want to be like her. So,
unfortunately, I don't know if there's enough backing behind it to continue it.
Hopefully,
it'll be like flash and go. I mean, hopefully not, but I mean,
right.
It's. I like to see a women's professional volleyball league,
beach volleyball league.
Well, it could be regular volleyball.
Those women are like, I wouldn't even want to step on the same beach that.
They pound me and they.
And I'm not trying to be.
I'd be standing there like this. Ace.
No.
Ace.
I would be standing there like this.
And I'm not trying to be an asshole, but if you look at some of the talent in say the WNBA, as opposed to say women's soccer and or volleyball, the talent to me it maybe comes halfway. You look at a lot of those women that play professional volleyball. Holy shit!
Yeah,
you don't have people missing balls and this and that and the other. I mean, you get people that laying shit out.
Yeah, they sacrifice everything to get it,
and they come with a whatever. So I think if you had a professional volleyball league, the talent level would be much higher to where people would want to watch it.
Right.
More so.
Well, let's see what happens with the Olympics this year. That's
we have too many skateboarding events, and then therefore people won't be watching.
Oh, there is one. It's
is it popping? Is that what it's called? The
breakdancing.
Yeah.
They have breakdancing is in the Olympics this year. I'm like, well, it isn't gonna last. I mean, it's not going to last, but it's going to be. I think it's one of those what they call them exhibition things or whatever. I don't foresee her, but Steve, I was like breakdancing.
Well, again,
you're a little late.
Okay, so
number one, I said, but you're a little late. That was big back when we were like teenagers,
right?
So let's talk about diversity. Okay, so you had Megan Thee Stallion doing one of the big promotions for the number one. Who are you? I mean, I know who she is, but number two, you're not an athlete. Number three, you were what, a year or two ago, one of the biggest skanks on.
She still is.
Well, I know, but I mean, she's talking. If you listen to her lyrics, but yet you are the person we're going to put to promote the Olympics in Paris.
Yeah, you're the face.
Really? What the frick are we doing?
Well, that's NBC. Don't just.
Yeah, I know. But I'm just like, really, you couldn't find somebody else that was influential and whatever instead of Megan Thee Stallion?
Right.
She's doing a lot of the equine events, I understand, for the Olympics.
You're stupid. All right.
Anyhow.
That's all I got.
That's all I got.
I'm out.
All right.
We kept everybody long enough.
I know. Do you have any idea what you're doing next week or next time or no? You haven't even thought about it yet.
I haven't even thought.
Okay. I was just curious.
But I tell you what, though, I do like what you were hinting at for your next spot.
Well, if you want to do it, do it.
No, I say
you could do it because I'll definitely bring my research.
He's got. I was gonna say there's plenty out there for both of you.
I got shit in reserve, bro.
Yes, he does.
Oh, yeah. So
All right.
No, just curious.
It was nice seeing Justin and Rodri.
Yes,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
joining us.
Thank you for joining us
this time around.
Yeah.
Rodri, I know it's not really late over there.
Well, he stays up late. And I know this really isn't everybody's cup of tea as far as topic, but this is kind of where we're going. This is kind of where we want to roll.
Right.
But
we'd like to talk about things that, are, I can't say taboo, but are,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
well,
Bring
good
some
show.
light.
Well, it's like before,
Thank you.
Back
Thank
to
you.
Bedlam was more of a goofball
show.
Right.
Goofball show. So we wanted to kind of put a little bit more substance to it and stuff and whatnot. But
Even though we're still goofballs.
yeah. So there you go. So that's all I got. You guys good?
I'm good.
Yeah, thanks
All right.
again for everybody joining in. Again, like we say, comment below. Any questions or, viewpoints or anything like that, please put them out there. If there's a topic or anything that you would like for us to work on or that you would like to see, again, put the comments in there, like, follow. We'd like to thank everybody, like these gentlemen here that sacrificed their family time to be in the fighting forces for the men and women that are out there doing it every single day. Police, fire, everybody that
Teachers.
is out there, absolutely, that are doing it to make things safer for the rest of us. Thank you so much for everything that you guys do and putting it out there on the line. We really appreciate it.
Definitely. So, yep. So, like you said, like, subscribe, hit the bell, because you hit the bell, you'll be notified when we come up our next show. In case you just forgot. Personally, I think you have it on every calendar you have, so it pops up because there's nothing more important than this show.
That's right.
Exactly.
So that's all I got. So we good?
We're
We
good.
good.
Thank you.
So God bless everybody.
Yes, God
Please
bless.
stay safe.
Yes.
Take care of one another, and we will see you in 2
2
weeks.
weeks. All right, everybody.
At 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
Bye.
Bye.